Hi everyone, my name is Sinead Canning. I'm a senior consultant with Engage People Recruitment, and I'm joined here by my colleague Michael.
Hey, Sinead.
Thanks for joining me today. So the purpose of, I suppose, today's video is to discuss remote video interviewing. It's become increasingly common over the last number of months. And I suppose most, if not nearly all of our clients actually at the moment are doing video interviews just because of, I suppose, the social distancing measures that are in place due to COVID-19. So, in this piece, myself and Michael would like to discuss, I suppose, key video interviewing tips that will just make sure, your experience is positive and you get the most out of it. So, I suppose, first question, Michael, if that's all right, I'll jump straight into it.
Go ahead.
What top three things would you say are important for candidates to consider when video interviewing?
Yeah, cool. So, look, I think when it comes to video interviewing, the main things still hold true around the sort of impression you want to make with people. But there's a few things about the physical environment and the tech side that are going to be a bit different. So, the first thing I'd say is you have the opportunity to create your own surroundings. That's an opportunity and a threat. So basically, when you're going into a video interview, you want to be very conscious of the sort of backdrop that you're going to have. You're going to want to make sure that you're coming across on the screen, okay? And that's part tech, but that's also part planning as well. So if you're like me and you wear glasses, you want to just make sure that there's no glare on those glasses. So right now, there's a little glare for me, but not too bad. But in some cases, if the light's behind you, as people will usually have for videos, then that's really going to bounce off your glasses, and it's going to, reduce the ability to make direct eye contact with the interviewer. But some of the opportunities that come out of that is because you're in your own space, you can have notes in the interview if you want, and very helpful in terms of a few reminders. But I would impress that I wouldn't overuse them. It can be a distraction if you're glancing away from the screen a lot,
Mm,
and might sort of take from your authenticity, which is like such an important thing to get across in the interview. So
yeah.
so that'd be number one. I think the tech piece that I mentioned is important as well. So obviously you're reliant on your connection and your hardware and software to be able to make that connection with the interviewer. So you want to check links beforehand, make sure you have a good interview connection, and stuff like that. The other thing I'd say is, with when it comes to video interviewing, the third piece is they generally start on time. What we've noticed is, sometimes people are in waiting rooms when they go into interview, or they can be traffic can impact their ability to arrive on time. So on both sides, they can be delayed. Video interviews generally start on time. A lot of people are putting them into their Microsoft Outlook, and the reminder pops up, and you're straight in there. Both people arriving more or less dead on the time. So be ready for that. But it's definitely one of the big benefits in terms of candidates being able to rely on when they start, but then also, from the interviewer side, being able to run a very well scheduled diary and book of interviews. So they'd be the main three, I think.
Yeah, great. And I suppose just to add as well, I think it's important for people to remember that, when you're doing face-to-face interviews, you have the ability more so, let's say, to, build rapport with someone and for, kind of small talk before and after the interview. I think it's important to still try and do that. Be yourself, be more personable if possible, and really just, focus on the fact that it's important to establish rapport and build a connection with the interviewer as well. So, great.
Totally.
So, if we're to move on, then, Michael, what do you think are the main differences between video interviewing and face to face interviews that people really need to consider? And can candidates use these to their advantage?
Yeah. So I guess there's definitely a few. I think because it's new for people, there's people do see the challenges more than they see the opportunities. But some of the opportunities, well, one of them I mentioned around having notes nearby. That's not a
Mm,
requisite. It's not actually something I would do myself, I don't think. But if you're coming into a very technical interview or there's points you want to make, maybe it might be just helpful to have a couple of bullets beside you. The other opportunity is, to be able to go in with a clear mind. So obviously wellness, and that now that we're all, working from home and maybe a little more isolated than when we were before, is becoming an important piece. one of the things about on-site interviews was that you always had an orientation time between when you left where you were traveling from and when you arrived at the interview, and that might be a 20-minute period to kind of clear your head. But it wasn't what you'd call sort of meditation time or totally be able to clear your mind. You know, if you have a bad bus journey or you're running a little late, that can be a bit frustrating. With video interviewing now, you know exactly when it's going to start, and you're generally in a calm environment in your house, hopefully, or hopefully you're at least able to find somewhere. So I'd say include within your interview preparation, maybe 10 minutes beforehand, take a walk. If you meditate or if you just have any sort of things you go through to clear your mind, take that opportunity to do that. This isn't, you know, one of those things where you should be cramming on technical information right up to the end, because ultimately the interviewer is going to lead the conversation and much of what you study may not be end up being used. It's better to have a calm and clear mind and communicate properly and trust yourself to remember the pieces when they do come up and when they're asked.
Fantastic, absolutely. And so if I'm to move on to the next question then, do you think that video interviews are here to stay even after COVID-19? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're here to stay now, Sinead. I think this has been a crash course in sort of the benefits of online. That like it's obviously a struggle for a lot of people at the moment
Yeah.
in terms of having to deal with, you know, the socially and professionally in terms of the isolation piece. But it's been an eye opener in terms of what the problems tech can solve for us and how they can facilitate processes. I think at Engage people, we've been particularly proactive, and you know we're now able to uh, provide recorded interviews, which is helpful for
Mm,
clients, and it's really helpful from the candidate's perspective because we can perform those interviews really at a time that's going to suit them, and it
yeah.
doesn't have to tie in with a busy hiring manager's schedule as well. And it's, you know, really puts us in a strong position to help the candidate prepare and it really show clients the sort of people, the candidate pool that's out there without having to, you know, pull from the busy periods in their day. So from a diary management perspective as well. But I think beyond video interviewing, you know, there's a lot of stuff happening with regards to recruitment at the moment that's going to
Mm,
be helpful. And so a lot of people talking about artificial intelligence and how, for instance, chatbots could be used in the future, where candidates are going to be able to go on to companies' websites and you know, ask the chatbot questions and understand whether a role is going to be a fit and help the system understand whether they're going to be a fit. It's not meant as a replacement for human interaction, and I think that's a critical thing to emphasize. But
mm,
what it really is, it's a time management perspective from the candidate and the client's perspective to ensure that the conversations that do happen are quality conversations, that something productive can come out from on both sides. And a funny anecdote I heard that as artificial intelligence is going to improve and as all these things become user friendly to the point that even I can use them, and what the suggestion is that candidates could actually in time create their own chatbots, and what you might have is two chatbots chatting to each other about a career opportunity, and you just get the
interesting.
notification when something happens. But
Yeah.
maybe we're not there yet. But it's interesting that,
Not
you
just
know,
yes, I don't think.
no, it's interesting that you know the candidates can potentially extract a lot of benefits in terms of identifying opportunities and managing their time as well out of this. So that's
Yeah.
a really positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose if I'm just to mention like a few of the kind of positive outcomes that we've, experienced or noticed, with ourselves, our clients and our candidates over the last number of weeks, when it comes to video interviews, what tends to happen is processes tend to move, faster than if it, I suppose if you look back on kind of face-to-face interviews. And there's a few different things to note there. I think, it comes down to scheduling. You're not up against the time with maybe, a panel of different interviewers. Like one of the I suppose services that we're offering when it comes to recorded interviews, they're sent on and hiring managers can watch them in their own time, make a decision then. Just things are much more accessible and they are moving faster, which is fantastic for both hiring managers who, need a key position filled, and then for candidates who are on the lookout for a new role. So there's lots of things I think to consider and take on board when it comes to video interviewing and the future of, video interviewing. So that's all the questions that I have for you today, Michael. You'd be glad to hear. Thanks very much for your time. And for everyone, I suppose, if you've any other tips that you want to add or any other comments, please just comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.